Real brick without bricklayers? You can do it too. Hey there, it's Mr. Rodaway from the Warrior Woodshop, and here we are again on another field trip in the summer of 2025. Back in March of 2025, the area around the Warrior Woodshop suffered an EF1 level tornado. Our house was actually about a quarter mile from the center of one of those tornadoes. There were several actually, but we were about a quarter mile from the center of one of those tornadoes, and one of the things it suffered was a lot of siding damage. Hail, damaged windows, damaged siding, blew off fascia, as you can see. So we're given that opportunity, we're going to turn it into a blessing in disguise to upgrade this porch from what it was, a basic boring gray siding, to this stone mortarless brick facade. Yes, I said it's mortarless brick. We installed it ourselves. The product is called Novabrik. It's been around for a few years now, 20 plus. In fact, I was installing it back in the early 2000s with my high school class when we were doing the construction class, where in the morning the students would learn how to build houses or the basics of residential carpentry. The afternoon classes of the second and third year students would come out and be laborers and foremen of the crew. And this is one of the siding materials that we chose to install because it's very carpenter friendly, and even better yet, it's DIY friendly. If you know some basic tools like a miter saw or cutoff saw, obviously a hammer drill, and some measuring tapes with a chalk line, you can measure reasonably accurate. You can get a pretty good result. This honestly is probably one of the more trickier walls to do because of all the obstacles we ran into. I could have probably done the side of my garage, which was 300 square feet faster than I did this 125, just because of all the different obstacles. But that's the beauty of this video. In this particular wall, we're going to show you how to do an outside corner with no siding, or excuse me, no brick on the side. We're going to use the existing vinyl, so we're meeting up two different kinds of materials. We have got a window that we're using the window and door trim for. Actually, we have two of those. Then we've got our door that we had to obstacle around, and then we got an inside corner. We chose to do the soldier course at the bottom. It's a good technique because the porch grew about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches over the 16 feet from the door to the outside. You want drainage, that's natural. So there's a lot of different obstacles that we're going to encounter while in the process of making this video. So making the video when we did. So we'll show you how we tackled each one of them and went about it. The biggest thing is trying to get all 4 sections to match up at the same height with technically an unlevel ceiling. It's reasonably level in 4 to 6 foot spans, but from one side to the other, it's not. And the key is making everything visually level, because what it looks like from the street doesn't matter what the level read when you're up close. The beauty of Novabrik is from the street, it looks like real brick. They do have about 6 or so color choices, and they have the choices of smooth or rough texture. I like the stone because it actually, I don't know if you can see it on camera, it matches the landscape bedding, those typical rocks you get from the big box stores. So once you get the old siding removed, or if it's new construction, I'm sure you're going to put up some house wrap, because now it's building code. When this house was built in early or late 97, it was not a code back then. So we're going to bring this one up to date. And while we're at it, we're going to take a chance to fill in the air gaps and keep the critters out with some spray foam and some caulking. The next thing you have to do is furring strips. That's the other beauty of this thing. It actually is a breathable siding. Okay, it has a 3/4 gap, so you install these furring strips on every stud. So you definitely want to mark your stud locations with masking tape, with pencil marks, whatever you can do that won't permanently damage it. Like on the porch, we used masking tape on the ceiling. We're covering it with some soffit, so we can just write with the pencil right on it. All right, normally above the window, there's a chart you want to refer to that explains how big of this header should be. It basically depends on how many rows you're going to have above. You can tell we're only going to have 2 to 4 max, especially with one of them being a soldier course. Soldier course where you run them vertical, that way you can match them back up with the main run. They recommend a 15-inch or require a 15-inch. We've only got 13.5, so that's what we've got our spacer. These are hanging bricks. They're technically not resting on the foundation, so that's another good thing. It does not require a brick ledge, so it's a beautiful product for upgrading the facade without having to change the foundation style of your home. We're going to do this in a later video. Once the wainscoting gets, we're going to show you how that we are able to cover the foundation. We did this both on the construction schoolhouses, and we're going to do it here where we can actually cover some of that exposed foundation where a traditional brick ledge would still have the gray brick showing, like you can see in some of these other houses. So that's another beautiful product. The best thing is it's very DIY friendly. Like I said, I had high school kids doing this even 20 years ago when we were building houses for the school program. So a beginning carpenter is, as long as they understand directions, can follow these steps. It's an interlocking product. All right, we got our first row hung. We'll cut the last brick to fit here in a minute. Looking at the spacing with the windows, I'm okay with a small brick being in the corner there. It's just how, because it's going to continue up around the top. You start off by screwing the first row, and then you screw every 4 rows after that. You know, cut a half brick, start going. We call it the Novabrik shuffle, where you go a full brick, half brick, full brick, half brick, and then you take your next 4 and just slide them across, because that's what. So we're going to show you this video, kind of an overview of what we did to do this porch. Finally, there's these windowsill blocks here at the window that, rotten luck, our windows are 35 and the blocks come 16. So what we did is we centered a full brick in the middle, and then made a couple of 9 3/4 or 9.5s to keep everything, you know, symmetrical. It would have been great if they'd have been 18, because I could have just put a split in the middle, but it is what it is. And then these are J-channel, like you'd see in vinyl siding. However, it's thick enough to accommodate the thickness of the brick. And then on our fixtures, we did have to add an 1.5 inch extension box plus the original 2. So it comes out with the furring strips, it comes out 3.5 inches. So basically you're almost doubling the thickness of your wall. It's a tremendous upgrade. What did it take to install? Me by myself in one of the hottest weeks of July 2025, dealing with some doctor's appointments and other people's schedule. I had help for a couple days with my son. My wife tried to help in the evening, and my partner, Mr. Saputo, came to help one day. That was the most productive day, because when you got 2 guys that really know what they're doing, we did what would have took me about 5 or 6 hours in about 3.5 or 4. So from start to finish, tear down to completion, this was about a 5 to 6 day project. And again, that could have been done in 3 or 4 if you'd have had 2 people that really know what they're doing, or skilled. My son knows what he's doing. My wife, you know, she could help where she could help. It's just, while I was installing bricks, Mr. Saputo was cutting the next one. So that's what sped that process up. Before, it was me cut a brick, come over and install it. Walk back over there, cut a brick, install it. So if you got help and you don't have to deal with 100+ degree heat index, things will go a little bit more efficient. Pace it at your schedule. That's the beauty of it. Once the house wraps up, and here we're under a porch, you got to take your time, do it right. Because what's one of the phrases I say? You don't have time to do it right the first time. When are you going to have time to go back and do it again? And that's literally what it comes down to, is every few rows, measure from the top, go back to the street, take a look at it, and make adjustments as necessary. Yes, you only have to screw every 4 rows, but if you need to, you can make adjustments a 32nd or a 16th at a time. Maybe your windows aren't square, maybe your ceiling's not square, so you want to make sure you take those every 4 or 8 rows and give yourself a chance to adjust, because once you get to the top, it's either take it all back down or live with the eyesore, and we definitely didn't want to do that. There is over almost 700 bricks installed in this 9 by 24 porch with 3 windows. So we would have been pushing 1,000 bricks. I mean, kind of figure the square footage. we have some left over, so we're going to do a couple little side projects, wainscoting on the front of the garage doors, and we're even going to attempt a mailbox stand just to kind of help it match the house. The goal is when the retirement shop starts getting built in 3 to 5 years, we're gonna sell this house and move out to that one. So now is a great opportunity to do some upgrades, and this was one of the best ones we did. While we were at it, we went ahead and upgraded the light fixture, and then installed a gray cover because before we had that faded, ugly white. So Novabrik is a product I've been using for over 20 years. I've done it on half a dozen houses now, including my own. Just take your time. It's carpenter and DIY friendly. In fact, you don't need a bricklayer to install it, as I've mentioned several times over, but it's an upgrade that you can do to yourself. Everything is accomplishable if you take the time to plan it out, do it right, measure carefully, and just think ahead, and always be safe. So make sure that as you're doing this, you're following safety protocols. Make sure safety first, safety always here at the Warrior Wood Shop, whether we're on a field trip or whether we're working in the shop. So hopefully you got something out of this video that I hope you can take the opportunity to try it yourself. We were thinking about just wainscoting this, but with all the doors and the windows, again, that would have offered a level of complication I just didn't want to deal with. So it was easy to go floor to ceiling. Okay, we're going to take the time and do wainscoting on the front of the garages. I will show you that on each side of the garage door. So that'll be a separate video in itself, and then we'll try that separate video for the mailbox if it turns out. If it doesn't, I'll be digging it out and putting the post back. You know, that's the way things go sometimes. So hopefully you got some ideas. You're going to use them for your own house, deer stand, cabin, whatever the case may be. But while you're thinking about that and while you're surfing on it, before you go anywhere, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification so you know when we post those other videos later on this fall to finish up with the Novabrik transformation on the house here in Arnold, Missouri. So thanks for watching. After you're done with all that, go out and make some sawdust.